Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran and patch 8.2 has been amazing. I've been enjoying streaming it as well as making videos for it. And so far with the beginning of patch 8.2, we are in our second week. And already right before the brand new raid, I'm getting the questions of which spec should I play, which classes should I play, what is looking good for patch 8.2. Usually this is one of the situations where the hindsight is 2020, where after we have all the information, after we have all the sims, after we have all the brand new gear and essences, then we truly know which specs and classes are at the top tier. Until then though, there's a lot of speculation, and in this video I want to shoot at you guys 5 classes that I think are going to be great to start with going into patch 8.2. Now this list was actually kind of difficult to make because there's a lot of useful and great classes and everybody's gonna have their own specific playstyle that they enjoy. So this video is very much opinion based, it's very much subjective. While somebody might love the idea behind, let's say hunters are not a class that I have on this list for example, but somebody loves the theory, the fantasy behind it. Being a hunter out in the world with your trusty pet going for the kill. It's something that just appeals to you and nothing I can say in this video is going to change that. But in this video, I do want to give you guys some classes that I think are going to be a solid pickup. If you're someone who wants to get into some dungeons, some raids, have some fun in world content, which classes are looking very solid so far. And I'll give you guys my reasonings as to why I think they are most likely going to be good continuing into the raids and the dungeons that we'll have with patch 8.2. The first class we'll have to put on this list is going to be a Druid. And simply because they are a hybrid and there's so much flexibility with what druids can do. Bear druids have recently gotten buffed, so if you are someone who's looking to pick up a solid tank, bear druid should be now a competitive option. So being a tank lets you get into raids and dungeons far easier, especially if you like having responsibility of leading the group to victory. You're someone who's going to be picking up a lot of slack, and having a bear druid spec that is viable and strong and recently been beefed up might open you up a lot more opportunities to get into some groups. Outside of that, balanced druids and restoration druids have been a solid choice since the beginning of Battle for Azeroth, the expansion, not just any particular raid. And since they've been good so far, there's a good chance to suggest that in this new raid and dungeon season for Season 3 Mythic Plus, they are most likely going to be continuing to stay solid. And on top of it, with this brand new season, you also have access to a melee DPS spec of Feral Druid. Now, Feral Druids have not been the brightest star in all of the specs of choice that you have in BFA so far. And I say so far because with a brand new raid, with a brand new item level increase, and a lot more stats for us to gain, and plus the essence system, which helps a lot of the specs come out from the woodworks, it is a good opportunity for Feral Druids to make a comeback, or at least be a strong viable choice of an alternative for a DPS spec for Druids when it comes to raids. So I had to give the first spot to Druids because of the flexibility of what a Druid brings. Being able to play healer, tank, a ranged DPS, or a melee DPS certainly opens a lot of options where you might be able to fit into the content of this patch 8.2. Number 2 class on this list is going to have to be the Hunter. I personally love Hunters, and I've always enjoyed them just about every expansion. And while Hunters have not been something I mained, I've always had a Hunter alt just about every single expansion that I've been playing so far. What I like about Hunters and what's going to make them good, I think any patch, any expansion, is they're fairly easy to play, at least when you're starting with Beast Mastery Hunter. Also, Hunters allow you great opportunity to solo the content. So when you're getting out in patch 8.2 on your day-to-day life, you are always going to have a pet that will be there to protect you, giving you a little bit extra of that safety. Hunters are a great, solid choice alternative for a ranged class. They are not really a caster because casters can be interrupted, hunters can't. Most of the casters have to stand still to cast, and hunters do have some opportunity, or if you're a Beastmaster then all of your abilities are instant cast, allowing you to move around and use abilities. Also, you have a fair amount of utility. You can kite enemies with slows, you have bloodlust, you can trap enemies, stun enemies. So overall, I feel like hunters have been a very solid pickup for a lot of players. I don't think there's ever been a patch that's been bad for hunters, and so far, that's what my gut feeling is telling me about hunters right now. So this is why I gotta give you guys hunters as a solid pickup for patch 8.2. And then, of course, we have to talk about rogues. And the reason why we're talking about rogues is not because I'm a rogue main, but it does kind of line up with it. So far, Battle for Azeroth has been an expansion that really not favors, but definitely makes rogues a flavor of the month for the last few months now. Rogues have been amazing as of Battle for Azeroth. Don't really know exactly what Blizzard decided to do to make us this way, but compared to how we started in Legion, where it's like, well, I don't really know if I want to bring a rogue, now we have to bring at least 2 Outlaw rogues to almost every Mythic Plus key. Besides being popular, rogues are also a great class if you like playing this lone wolf playstyle, or if you know healers that barely ever want to heal you. If you know a couple of those healers in your raid groups or dungeon groups, then rogue will be the perfect choice for you. You have a lot of defensive cooldowns in order to survive a lot of abilities, so you won't really have to rely on your healer for every little titty bitty thing. So far in Battle for Azeroth, we have had great damage, be it single target or AoE, that allows us to join almost any raid or dungeon group. So given the track record that Blizzard hasn't nerfed rogues yet, and I'm pretty sure we would have seen some massive nerfs by now if Blizzard really wanted to scale rogues back. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did anytime soon. But so far, they haven't. And that means that rogue is probably going to be a very solid pickup for anybody looking to get a class that wants to be invited into some of the content happening in patch 8.2. Now the next class on this list is going to be Demon Hunter. We have to talk about rogues, but then we also have to talk about Demon Hunters as well. Demon Hunter is another solid DPS choice that have been integral to just about any dungeon group and 100% integral in every raid group. Demon Hunters were literally molded to be amazing. A very fun, fast-paced playstyle that doesn't care about GCD, very heavy on mobility, great cooldowns for offensive and defensive, one of the classes with a lot of AoE stuns that you can kind of chain back to back, cleave damage as well as single target damage. Demon Hunters also come with a debuff that applies to any enemy they damage, allowing enemies to take 5% more magical damage. And with how strong a lot of the casters are as of recent few raids in Battle for Azeroth, Demon Hunters have become a staple to any caster heavy group. On top of it, the Vengeance tank spec has recently saw massive buffs to make it more competitive and more sustain heavy. And if you guys haven't tried Vengeance Demon Hunter before, I think now would be a great time. Because, first of all, Vengeance Demon Hunters don't really play like a tank. They play like a Demon Hunter. A very mobile, very offensive type of class that deals damage to survive and heal himself. And if you are ever in trouble, just like with Havoc Demon Hunter, the Vengeance pops Metamorphosis in order to overcome just about any obstacle. So the class itself is very solid, and Blizzard has done something insane with it ever since they created this class back in Legion as only a 2-spec class. But every spec that they have is amazing, and with the recent buffs to the tank spec, I think Demon Hunters as a class are going to be even more of a solid pickup compared to what they've already been, which is a must-have in every single raid. Now the last class that I want to recommend for you guys, if you are trying to pick a solid, viable choice that will get you invited to dungeons, it was between 4 classes. I won't tell you the classes that I had to look at, that I had to put a minus to, but I'll give you the one that I decided to go with as a plus for this video, and that is going to be Monk. The Monk is a really simple choice. It is a hybrid class first of all. So having a tank spec, a healing spec, and a DPS spec nets you a lot more opportunity to find a role that fits you or play a role that everybody wants. So if you're trying to get on a dungeon group, learning all 3 specs or at least being able to moderately play all 3 of them will allow you to get into queues for dungeons and raids far easier. What I personally also like with the monks is just how mobile every spec is. So if you're someone who values mobility for whether you're a tank, healer, or DPS, monks have it covered for all 3 specs. Monks also have been a solid pickup for a while. Most of the groups want a monk in their group, whether it's a DPS monk, healer monk, or a tank monk. Brewmasters is one of those tanks that deals with damage in the most smoothest ways of possible. No matter what kind of a hit they take, they make it easier for healers to catch up with the damage. As a Mistweaver, they have some of the best direct healing that does cost a lot of mana, which can sometimes be an issue, but with a little bit of practice and mana management, most players find them very reliable, whether you are using them for raids or whether you're using them for dungeons. Finally, Windwalker continues to deliver powerful blows to the enemies with a fun, mastery-heavy playstyle where you do not repeat abilities ever, which creates for a very fun gameplay that's fun to play in its own wake. So between a powerful tank that won't let the damage overpower him, a healer that is very reliable in terms of healing output, as well as a powerful single target or AoE damage melee, monks offer up a great choice for a lot of players picking up a new class to main for patch 8.2. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I don't want this video to be a discouraging video if there is a class that wasn't on this list. If there's a certain playstyle you like or a class fantasy you enjoyed, then I think you should go ahead and play that instead. It doesn't matter whether the spec or class is viable as long as you are having fun playing it. But there's a lot of you guys that are asking me what is going to be the best spec, what is going to be the best class, the most viable, which class would I recommend for somebody just getting at the game and doesn't want to waste any time trying to learn a class and figure out that it's not top tier and then you're having a hard time getting into dungeons. So this was a video to tell you guys some classes that I think are going to be viable with the release of the new raid and the PvE content that is happening in patch 8.2. Now, this video is not exactly a PvP video. I do want to make a separate video for that if I needed to, because the PvP side of BFA is a little bit different. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. What classes would you put in your top 5 list for the most viable options or top picks for 8.2? And is there a class that you're still going to stick with or play simply because you like it? I would like to hear all that in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel, give the video a like if you liked it, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.